The excavator bucket hit something hard. Mike Sanderson cursed and turned off the engine. May 15, 2024. 40 miles from Las Vegas, the construction site of a future solar park, and there shouldn't be any metal here. Mike jumped out of the cab. The sand burned through the thick soles of his boots. Something was glinting in the hole. Rusty metal. He grabbed a shovel and began digging up his find. 10 minutes later, it became clear that it was the roof of a car. "Hey, Carlos," he called to his partner. "Come here, look at this." Carlos whistled. "Old car, probably stolen and abandoned." Mike continued digging. The windshield appeared, cracked but intact. Then the driver's door, a 1971 Buick Riviera. Mike's heart skipped a beat. It was just like his grandfather Walter's. Before we begin the story, please write where you are from. We are very interested in where you are watching our video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave your rating. "Call the police," he said to Carlos. "This could be a crime." The door was rusty but gave way. Inside the car was a layer of dust and sand. Mike opened the glove compartment, a driver's license. A photo of a young Asian girl stared back at him. Emily Chen, date of birth, April 3, 1988. "Wait," Carlos peered over his shoulder. "I remember this story. The girl went missing 4 years ago. It was a big deal." Mike turned the license over. On the back was a sticker with a number. He froze. It was his grandfather's phone number, the same Walter Sanderson who died in 2019. The police arrived 40 minutes later. Detective Ramirez, a heavy-set woman in her 50s, examined the car. "Buick Riviera 1971. We'll run the VIN number." "That's my grandfather's car," Mike said. "I recognize it. That dent on the bumper. I made that when I was 10. Ramirez raised an eyebrow. "Your grandfather? And how did his car end up here with the missing girl's documents?" "My grandfather died 5 years ago. The car was supposed to be sold at auction, but it disappeared from the parking lot." The experts worked all day. The car was loaded onto a tow truck. Mike was released after giving his statement. At home, he couldn't calm down. He took out an old photo album. There was his grandfather Walter next to his Buick. It was the same car, no doubt about it. The next morning, Detective Ramirez called. "Mr. Sanderson, we need to talk. Can you come to the station?" In the detective's office, items from the car were lying on the table. An old road map, an empty water bottle, and a tape recorder. An old cassette tape recorder that Mike recognized immediately. "That's my grandfather's," he said. "He always carried it with him. He used it to record notes for his Vietnam memoirs." "Listen to the recording," Ramirez said, pressing the button. Walter's hoarse voice came from the speaker. "If you're listening to this, Mikey, you found the car. There's an envelope in the trunk, under the spare tire. Don't trust Vincent. He's not who he says he is. I'm sorry for all the secrets. I wanted to protect you and your mother." The recording cut off. Mike sat there in shock. Vincent Morales was his grandfather's old friend, the owner of the auto repair shop. That was where the Buick had been kept after Walter's death. "We checked the trunk," Ramirez said. "The envelope is there, but first, tell me about Vincent Morales." Mike told her everything he knew. Vincent and Walter had been friends for 40 years. They worked together and went fishing together. After his grandfather's death, Vincent helped with the funeral and the paperwork. "What about the girl, Emily Chen?" the detective asked. "Never heard of her. My grandfather lived in a nursing home for the last few months. Maybe she worked there?" Ramirez nodded. "We'll check it out. In the meantime, here's the envelope from the trunk. Technically, it's your property." The envelope was thick. Inside was a stack of money transfer receipts. The amounts ranged from $5,000 to $10,000. All the transfers were to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. The recipient was Nguyen Thi Linh. "Who is that?" Ramirez asked. Mike shook his head. "I don't know. Grandpa never talked about anyone he knew in Vietnam. He only talked about the war sometimes, and even then, reluctantly. There was another photograph in the envelope. It was black and white and faded. It showed a young Vietnamese woman holding a child in her arms. On the back was an inscription in Vietnamese, and the date, 1971. "That's not my grandmother," Mike said. "Grandma Rose was Irish, red-haired, freckled. She and Grandpa got married in '76. The detective took the copies of the documents. Mike drove home with the originals. Questions swirled in his head. Who was this Vietnamese woman? Why did his grandfather send money to Vietnam? And how was Emily Chen involved in all this? That evening, he drove to Vincent's. Vinnie's auto repair shop had been operating on the outskirts of town for 30 years. Vincent was in the office, counting the day's takings. "Mikey," he beamed. "How's it going, kid? I hear you found your grandfather's car?" "Yes, I did, with the missing girl's documents inside." Vincent's smile faded. "Missing girl? I don't understand." "Emily Chen. She disappeared 4 years ago. Her documents were in the glove compartment." Vincent shrugged. "That's strange. The car disappeared from the auction lot. The thieves probably used it and then abandoned it." Mike looked at him intently. "Your grandfather left a note. He said not to trust you." Vincent's face reddened. "Walter wasn't himself these last few months. Dementia. You know that." "He didn't have dementia. The doctors confirmed it. He was clear-headed until the end." "Listen, kid." Vincent stood up. "I was friends with your grandfather for 40 years. If he said anything about me, it was the ravings of a dying man. Now excuse me, I have to go." Mike stepped outside. Something was wrong. Vincent was nervous. He was lying. But why? The next morning, Mike drove to the Sunny Valley Nursing Home. The director, Mr. Henderson, remembered Walter. A wonderful man, very popular with the staff, especially among the volunteers. Volunteers? Yes, we have a program with the university. Students come to help out. One girl was particularly fond of your grandfather. Asian, I think. I think her name was Emily. Mike's heart began to race. Emily Chen? That's right. A lovely girl. She helped Mr. Sanderson with his paperwork and letters. They talked a lot. She even cried when he died. Did she say anything? Maybe your grandfather told her something? Henderson thought for a moment. You know, there was a strange moment. A week before he died, your grandfather asked me to witness the transfer of some keys. He gave Emily the keys to his car. He said she would help him with something important. The picture was starting to come together. Grandpa had entrusted Emily with something important, something to do with money in Vietnam. But what exactly? Mike drove to the University of Nevada. The dean's office confirmed that Emily Chen had studied at the hotel management department. She was an excellent student, an activist, and a volunteer. She disappeared on March 3, 2020. Her parents came from San Francisco, said the secretary. They hired a private investigator, but the trail went cold. She was last seen leaving the Silver Horseshoe Casino. Mike took Emily's parents' address. He called them on the way. Emily's mother, Grace Chen, agreed to talk on video chat. Emily was a good girl, she said, wiping away tears. Responsible, kind. She called every week. And then, nothing. Did she say anything about my grandfather, Walter Sanderson? Yes, she was very attached to him. She said he reminded her of her paternal grandfather. She even sent a photo of them together in the garden of the nursing home. Did she mention anything unusual? Maybe a favor she wanted you to do? Grace thought for a moment. A week before she disappeared, she said something strange, that sometimes the right thing to do seems wrong, and that she had to help someone fix a mistake from the past. I didn't think much of it. Mike thanked her and ended the conversation. The puzzle was coming together, but the key pieces were missing. What mistake from the past? And why did Emily disappear? That evening he returned home and looked through the documents from the envelope again. The address on the receipts was in the Ho Chi Minh City area. Nguyen Thi Linh. He opened his laptop and started searching. An hour later, he found it. An obituary in a local Vietnamese newspaper, dated 2018. Nguyen Thi Linh, 70, widow of an American soldier, mother of one daughter. Daughter, Nguyen Thi Mai, 48 years old, residing in California, USA. Mike leaned back in his chair. The widow of an American soldier. His grandfather had fought in Vietnam from 69 to 71. The photograph was dated 1971. Could it be? The phone rang. Detective Ramirez. Mr. Sanderson, we have new information. Casino cameras recorded Emily Chen getting into a Buick Riviera on the night of her disappearance. But there's something else. 15 minutes after she left, a black pickup truck drove out of the parking lot. The license plate is blurry, but we enhanced the image. It's a partial match for a vehicle registered to Vincent Morales. Mike felt a chill in his chest. Was he following her? Looks like it. We got a search warrant for his workshop. Thought you should know. After the call, Mike couldn't sit still at home. He drove to the old Desert Rose Motel. The address was among his grandfather's papers. The motel had been abandoned for 10 years, but the building was still standing. Mike climbed through a hole in the fence. The office was covered in dust. Registration books lay scattered on the floor. He began to leaf through them. The 1970s. And there it was. An entry. Walter Sanderson, number 12. Again and again, every month from 1971 to 1975. Mike went to number 12. The door was broken, and inside was devastation. But in the corner, under the peeling wallpaper, something white was visible. An envelope taped to the wall. Inside was a letter in broken English. Walter, I'm waiting for you. Little Mai is growing up. She looks just like you. When will you take us to America? Your Lynn. Mike's hands were shaking. His grandfather had a family in Vietnam, a wife and daughter. But he married Grandma Rose in 1976. What had happened? The phone was ringing. Mike didn't hear it right away in the silence of the abandoned motel. The screen showed an unknown number. Mike Sanderson? A woman's voice with a slight accent. Yes, this is he. My name is May Nguyen. I'm Walter Sanderson's daughter. Mike felt the ground slip away beneath his feet. He sat down on the dusty bed. I was told you found the car, the woman continued. And Emily. She's alive, Mr. Sanderson. She's with me. What? Where are you? The police have been looking for her for 4 years. I know. Emily wants to talk to you. But first, listen to me. It's a long story. May began to tell her story. Her mother, Lynn, had met Walter in Saigon in 1969. He was a young soldier. She was a nurse in a hospital. They married according to local customs, without official documents. May was born. My father loved us, May's voice faltered. But in 71, his unit was sent home. He promised to come back, get the paperwork done, and take us with him. He wrote letters and sent money. What happened? The fall of Saigon in 75. My mother tried to get on the evacuation list, but without being officially married to an American, it was impossible. In the chaos of the evacuation, a rumor spread that we had died. My father received the news. Mike closed his eyes. He imagined his young grandfather receiving the news of his wife and daughter's death. He married your grandmother a year later, May continued. He started a new family. But in the 90s, when relations between the countries improved, he hired a private investigator. He found us. My mother was alive, and so was I. And he started sending money? Yes, secretly, through different people. In recent years, through Vincent Morales. My father paid him a commission for the transfers. Did Vincent know? He knew everything. And when my father died, he decided to take the last transfer, $50,000 in cash. My father kept it in his car. Mike stood up and began pacing the room. But how did Emily get involved in all this? My father told her before he died. He showed her my photo and gave her my address in California. He asked her to give me the money in person. He didn't trust Vincent. And she agreed? Emily's a special girl. She couldn't refuse a dying man. My father gave her the keys to the Buick and told her where the money was. The picture was becoming clearer. Emily took the car and drove off to carry out the errand, but Vincent was following her. "What happened that night?" Mike asked. "Hold on, I'll get Emily." There was a rustle, then another voice, young and agitated. "Mr. Sanderson, this is Emily Chen. I'm sorry about everything. I didn't mean for it to turn out this way." "Emily, what happened? Why didn't you go to the police?" The girl took a deep breath. "I took the car from the parking lot. I had the keys. It wasn't stolen. I drove to the address Mr. Walter gave me, but I noticed a black pickup truck in the mirror. It had been following me from the casino." "Vincent?" "Yes, I was scared. I turned off the highway and drove down a dirt road into the desert. I thought I'd lose him, but he kept following me. Then he started honking and flashing his high beams. He forced me to pull over." Mike imagined a young girl alone in the desert at night, being pursued by a grown man. "I stopped. He came up and started yelling. He said the money was his, that Walter owed him for all his services. He tried to open the trunk." "Did he use force?" "He grabbed my arm and shook me. I broke free, got into the car, and sped away. He ran toward the pickup truck. I pulled off the road and drove straight across the desert. I turned off the headlights and navigated by the moon." "How did you bury the car?" "Not right away. I drove to an old quarry and hid the Buick behind some rocks. I took the money. I walked to the highway and hitched a ride to Baker. From there, I took a bus to Los Angeles." "But the car? How did it end up buried?" "I came back a week later. I rented an excavator. I have a license. My father taught me when I was a child. I buried the Buick. I knew they'd find it sooner or later, but I hoped I'd have time." "Time for what?" "To find May, to give her the money, to wait until Vincent calmed down. I didn't know what he was capable of." Mike sat back down on the bed. "Emily, you have to go back. Explain everything to the police." "I know. May said you found the car, that Vincent is being investigated. I'm ready to go back." "Where are you now?" "In San Jose. May has a small Vietnamese restaurant. I've been working for her all these years under a different name." Mike wrote down the address. He promised to come tomorrow. He ended the call and got into his car. His head was spinning. He had an aunt, a half-sister no one knew about. On the way home, Detective Ramirez called. "We searched Morales' workshop, found some interesting things. Records of transfers to Vietnam, but the amounts don't add up. He took more from your grandfather than he transferred." "He stole it?" "Looks like it. And we found a GPS tracker, the same one that was on the Buick. He was tracking the car." "Was he arrested?" "Not yet. Not enough evidence. But we're working on it." Mike told her about Emily's call. Ramirez was silent for a few seconds. "She's alive? That changes things. If she testifies, we can charge Morales. When are you meeting her?" "I'm going to San Jose tomorrow." "I'll go with you. This is still an open missing person case." The next morning they left early. 6 hours on Highway 15 to San Jose. Ramirez drove while Mike recounted the family history he had pieced together. "Your grandfather lived a double life," the detective remarked. "Not exactly. He thought his first family was dead. When he found out the truth, it was too late. He had a new family, children, but he tried to help." "Noble? But why didn't he tell you?" Mike shrugged. "Ashamed? Afraid of the reaction? My mother is very conservative. If she found out about my father's Vietnamese family, there would have been a scandal." The restaurant, Pho Saigon, was a small, cozy place in a shopping mall. Mai Nguyen met them at the entrance. She was a short woman in her 50s with black hair streaked with gray and eyes that looked just like Walter's. "Mike," she said, taking his hands, "you look just like your father when he was young." They hugged. It was a strange feeling to hug an aunt he didn't know existed until yesterday. Emily was waiting in the back room. She had lost weight, and her hair was long, unlike the short cut in the old photos. She was nervous, fidgeting with the edge of her apron. "Miss Chen," Ramirez showed her badge. "Detective Ramirez, you're not under arrest, but I need your statement." For the next 2 hours, Emily told the whole story. How she met Walter, how he gradually opened up to her, told her about his first family. How, before he died, he asked her to carry out his last request. "He cried," Emily said. "It was the first time I ever saw him cry. He said he couldn't die without taking care of May." "Why not through a lawyer, officially?" "He was afraid of publicity, and he didn't trust Vincent. He said Vincent had become greedy and dishonest." Ramirez took notes. "Tell us more about the night of March 3rd. Emily repeated the story of the harassment. She added details. Vincent had shouted that Walter had promised him money, that it was payment for his silence all these years. He blackmailed Grandpa, Mike realized. "It looks like it," Ramirez nodded. "Miss Chen, are you ready to give a formal statement?" "Yes, I'm tired of hiding. I want to see my parents." May brought Vietnamese coffee. She told them about her mother, how they had survived after the war, how happy they had been when Walter found them. "He came once," she said. "In 2010. He said he was going fishing with friends. He actually flew to Vietnam. We met. He asked for forgiveness." "Did you forgive him?" Mike asked. "Of course. He wasn't to blame for the war. He did what he could." Ramirez's phone rang. She stepped away, talked for a moment, and returned with a grim expression. "Vincent Morales tried to leave the country. He was detained at the Las Vegas airport. He has a ticket to Mexico and $50,000 in cash." "The same money?" Mike asked. "We'll check, but it looks like it. Miss Chen, we need to go back to Nevada. Will you come with us?" Emily nodded. She called her parents and told them she was coming back. Her mother cried on the phone. The return trip was spent talking. May told stories about her father that he had sent in his letters. Mike recognized his grandfather, his humor, his wisdom. "He talked about you a lot," May said. "He was proud. He said you grew up to be a real man." In Las Vegas, they were expected. The reporters had somehow found out about Emily's return. Ramirez led them through the back entrance of the station. Vincent Morales was sitting in a holding cell. He looked older, haggard. When Emily was brought in for identification, he lowered his eyes. "It's him," Emily confirmed. "He was after me that night." Vincent's lawyer tried to bargain. He offered a deal. Vincent was willing to admit to blackmail, theft, and stalking, but he denied trying to cause harm. "I just wanted my money," he muttered. "Walter promised me. I helped him with translations for 20 years. I took risks. It was my payment." "You took a commission on every translation," Ramirez pointed out. "An excessive one. That's also theft." The case went to court. Emily was not charged. Technically, she had not committed a crime. The car was handed over to her by the owner, along with the money. Emily's reunion with her parents was emotional. Her father, Mr. Chen, a reserved engineer from Silicon Valley, cried like a child. Her mother wouldn't let her go. "We thought you were dead," she repeated. "For 4 years, we thought we had lost you." Emily apologized and explained. Her parents were shocked by the story, but the main thing was that their daughter was back. A week later, the funeral took place. Not exactly a funeral, a reburial. Mike suggested that May's mother's ashes be brought from Vietnam and buried next to Walter. "They should be together," he said. Mike's mother, Karen, was indignant at first. What Vietnamese family? But when she heard the whole story, she softened. "Your father was always secretive," she sighed. "But he was a good man." if it brings him peace. The ceremony was quiet, just the family. May read a Buddhist prayer. Mike said a few words about his grandfather, about his difficult life, about the love that survived war and separation. Emily came too. She placed white chrysanthemums on the grave. "He was special," she said. "Thank you for letting me say goodbye." After the ceremony, everyone gathered at Mike's house. May prepared Vietnamese dishes. Karen was wary of her new relative at first, but May quickly won her over. "We both loved him," May said. "You're like a daughter to me. That makes us family." Emily returned to college. The dean's office was understanding and allowed her to finish her studies and take her exams. The story became public, and Emily became a local celebrity. But she avoided the press. "I just want to live a normal life," she said. Vincent Morales's trial was quick. 3 years in prison for blackmail and harassment. It could have been worse, but his lawyer played on his age and lack of a criminal record. The Buick Riviera was restored. Mike and May chipped in for the repairs. The car gleamed with chrome again, just like in the 70s. They gave it to Emily. "Grandpa would have wanted it," Mike said. Emily cried. "I'll take good care of it." A year later, Emily graduated from college. She got a job as a manager at the Bellagio Hotel. She sometimes visited Mike. They became friends. May moved to Las Vegas and opened a branch of her restaurant. Karen helped with the paperwork and the lease. Walter Sanderson's 2 daughters finally met. "You know," May said to Mike one day, "my father always dreamed that his families would be reunited. It's a shame it happened after he died." "But it happened," Mike replied, "and that's what matters." The old Buick stood in Emily's garage, polished to a shine. Sometimes she took it out for a drive in the desert. She would stop at the spot where she had once buried the car. She would watch the sun set over the Mojave. In the glove compartment was a photograph of Walter Sanderson, surrounded by both families. It was photoshopped, of course, by Mike, but it looked as if it should have been that way. The story took an unexpected turn 2 years later. Mike received a letter from a lawyer. It turned out that Walter had another secret, a Swiss bank account. It wasn't large, only $50,000. It had been opened in 1970. He probably planned to use the money to get his first family out, the lawyer explained. But after he heard about their death, the account remained untouched. The money was divided equally between Mike and May. May sent her share to an orphanage in Ho Chi Minh City that bore her mother's name. Mike bought a memorial with his share. It was a large black granite slab with an inscription in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. Walter Sanderson, soldier, father, a man who loved more than he could say. Next to it were 2 photographs, a young Walter with Lynn in Saigon, and an older Walter with Rose in Las Vegas. Both wives, both loves of his life. Detective Ramirez sometimes stopped by May's restaurant. She ate pho and drank Vietnamese coffee. "You know," she said once, "in 30 years on the police force, I've seen a lot. But this story, it's about how the truth always finds a way out." "Even after 40 years?" asked May. "Especially after 40 years. Secrets don't die with people. They wait for their moment." Emily wrote a book about the story. She called it The Rusty Buick. It became a bestseller. She donated her royalties to the Walter Sanderson Scholarship for student volunteers. The entire extended family gathered for the book launch. Mike with his wife and children, Karen with her new husband, May with her daughter, who had flown in from California, Emily's parents. "This is a story about love," Emily said from the stage. "About love that is stronger than war, distance, and time. About a man who tried to fix what couldn't be fixed. And about a car that kept secrets for 40 years. The audience applauded. Mike looked at the gathering, such a diverse but now united family. Grandpa Walter would have been pleased. After the presentation, everyone went to the cemetery. They placed flowers on the grave. May lit incense sticks, a Vietnamese tradition. "Thank you, Dad," she said in English, "for not forgetting, for loving me." The desert wind picked up the smoke from the sticks and carried it upward. Somewhere in the distance, a car drove by, an old one, judging by the sound of the engine, maybe another 1970s Buick keeping someone's secrets. "Let's go home," Mike said. Grandpa didn't like long goodbyes. They drove off, Emily in her restored Buick, May in her Toyota with the Fo Saigon sticker, Mike in the pickup truck his grandfather used to drive to go fishing. The sun was setting over the Mojave Desert, where 4 years ago an excavator had stumbled upon the roof of an old car. There were now solar panels. They turned to follow the sun, catching the last rays of the day. Beneath them, deep in the sand, were tire tracks. Tracks from the night when a young girl tried to fulfill the last request of a dying old man. Traces that led to the discovery of a lifelong mystery. In the police archives, Emily Chen's case was closed. The folder was stamped, "Solved." But the story continued. In memories, in stories, in a book read across the country, and in an old 1971 Buick Riviera, which still drove the roads of Nevada. Now behind the wheel was a young woman with short hair and a determined look. A woman who had disappeared and returned, who risked everything for justice. On the dashboard was a photograph, an old man in a nursing home and a young volunteer. They were smiling. Between them was a secret that had changed the lives of many people. Emily turned on the radio. An old song from the 70s was playing. Hotel California. She smiled. Walter loved that song. He said it was about how the past never lets you go. He was right. The past never lets you go. But sometimes, if you're lucky, it leads to reconciliation, to forgiveness, to a new family pieced together from the fragments of an old story. The Buick sped down the highway. There were no more secrets in the trunk, just a spare tire and a bag of travel clothes. Emily was on her way to San Francisco, to her parents. For the first time in 4 years, she was traveling under her own name, without hiding. Las Vegas, with its lights and secrets, was behind her. Ahead lay the desert highway. The same highway that a young soldier named Walter Sanderson had once driven down toward a new life, unaware that his old life had survived and was waiting for him in Vietnam. And now a question for you, dear listeners. Do you think Walter did the right thing by hiding the truth about his first family? Should he have told his children everything while he was alive, or was he right to take this secret with him? Write your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss this difficult moral dilemma together. The story is over, but the questions remain. Questions about love and duty, about truth and lies in the name of protecting loved ones, about how the past shapes the present. Somewhere in the Mojave Desert, the wind is covering the tracks. But some tracks are too deep to disappear without a trace. They are waiting for their moment, waiting for someone to find them and tell their story. The story of a rusty Buick in the desert, about a girl who disappeared, about an old man with a lifelong secret, and about how the truth, even the most bitter, ultimately sets you free.